Readers, this month we're continuing a new segment of our show, Indie of the Month. This is where we highlight an independent bookstore we love and one we'd love for you to support. Our Indie of the Month for March is Café con Libros in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Alexis, how excited are you when a bookstore also serves amazing coffee?
Oh my goodness. If they sell coffee or maybe tea, because I like tea, and books, move me in. Get me a spot at the table, right?
You ain't gonna get rid of me. You got a chair for me to sit in and something for me to drink. Forget it. And a book.
And a book.
Well, Café con Libros prides itself on being an intersectional feminist bookstore and coffee shop. And that means its owner, Kalima, fills her shelves with the brilliant works of the underrepresented while making sure Café con Libros serves as a vibrant community space where everyone feels centered, affirmed, and celebrated. I visited Café con Libros last time we were in New York a few months ago. I love it. It's so intimate that every book she chooses is one she personally knows you'll love to read. So it's a really curated collection. And the coffee is amazing. We biked there from Soho. It was a great way to start the day. Café con Libros is at 724 Prospect Place in Brooklyn, New York, 11216. Again, that's 724 Prospect Place, Brooklyn, New York, 11216. Tell Kalima we said hi, the Lit Society podcast, and visit Café con Libros for yourself.
And now for a special announcement.
Reintroducing Lightities, a private collection of luxury soy candles inspired by literature. For over a year, I've been working with our friends and finicky family members to get these aroma recipes just right. Now, I'm proud to share 3 exclusive fragrances. The first, Flora Neil Hurston, containing notes of blossoming red roses, warm woods, and slight musk. The second, Maya Tangelo, an expert mix of Tangelo citrus, warm woods, and notes of mint tea. And Langston's Library, a masculine mix of leather and balsam. Thank you to Alexis for helping me pick these cheesy names, which I love.
I love them.
And they perfectly describe the aroma. So thank you so much. For more information, readers, and to access a secret sale April 1st, I'm only telling you guys, and to receive special pricing. That's right. I'm giving you guys a discount. Text Lightities 10 to 844-521-0935. Again, that's Lightities 10. L-I-T as in Tom, O, T as in Tom, E, S as in Sam, 10. The number 1, the number 0 to 844-521-0935. Lightities 10 to 844-521-0935. Lightities, not your ordinary fragrances.
Sometimes you need help finding your way back to a memory. Micah Johnson. Hello, this is Alexis.
And this is Kari.
And you're listening to Lit Society, a show about the books and the dramas.
Indeed. How you
Welcome
doing?
back to another video episode.
That's
Kari.
right. If you want to see our faces, you can catch the video version of the show on YouTube. Hey, girl.
All right, then. How's it going? How has your week been?
I can't complain. It's been great, actually. There's some exciting changes coming to our shop, a new shop opening. We have some deals going down. You know, we're movers and shakers. This is season 3.
And movers.
You see, we wearing our merch. I'm drinking out our cup. I got on our Always Book shirt. I see you with the Plot Twist shirt. Get all our items on the... See, we don't have a Patreon, but you can support us by getting all this cool stuff we be designing on our shop. That's
right.
LitSocietyPod.com.
That's right. Get into it. Get into it. You know, Kari, it's time for that little game we play called Society Says.
Oh, you ain't going to tell me how you was doing? Oh, okay.
Oh, did you want to know? Girl, I am good. I am going back to the office. I mean, actually, I went back last week, Thursday, in the middle of a snowstorm. Can you believe it? How did I pick that day? But I did. I was trying to be generous with my time since I was feeling better. Yeah. But now I'm back on full blast. Well, I'm back to work.
I'm just happy you're feeling better. I think that's, COVID was really kicking our butt for a while. We did good though. Like we pulled through. But yeah, you have a lingering cough and you weren't feeling your best for a while. So I'm glad to hear you doing good.
Well, I guess we could run the positive of that.
That's right.
Great. Yes.
And you guys, Alexis is a little nervous because this is the first Wildcard episode she's produced. Okay.
So
boy. I just want to share that so we can all calm down. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Oh, I felt so much pressure now. Let's get on with the show.
Oh,
Kari, let's do Society Says, okay?
Let's do it.
All right. So this is when we share your comments with the rest of our lit society. What comment, Kari, did you think was particularly lit?
Yeah, I'm pulling this comment from Dexter J1219 on Instagram. He says, referring to a past episode, yes, another amazing episode from Lit Society. I picked up a copy of Stamped yesterday. That's the book by Ibram X. Kendi, which we reviewed in season 2, I believe. Anyway, back to his comment. He says, so that I could read it, along with copies of Born a Crime, Convenience Store Woman, and Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. I'm really enjoying the podcast. Keep up the good work and continue blessings to you both. Thank you, Dexter, the homie. He be supporting us all the time. Thank you, Dexter. We really appreciate it. And those are all books we love, like Stamped, by Ibram X. Kendi, Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, Convenience Store Woman, and Song of Solomon. We love those books. Highly recommend. What about you, Alexis? Did you have a comment from these streets that you thought was particularly lit?
Okay, yes, I did. And this is from Apple Podcast, and it is by Blar Fingar. Okay, I think I got that right.
No, you're definitely pronouncing that right.
I found this, and they said, I found this podcast recently after searching to see if there were any out there that discuss Anxious People by Friedrich Bachman. Do you remember that book when we covered it?
Course.
I think it was in season 1. And he said, they said, I could not have found a better one. I have listened to a few other episodes since then and have learned a lot and literally laughed out loud. 5 stars. Wasn't that wonderful? Thank you for that comment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we read all of your comments if they're on Instagram, Apple Podcasts. We check the ratings on Spotify. We don't really be on Facebook like that, but we can start for y'all. If y'all need us to, let us know.
Yeah,
we don't really have time.
No, every once in a while, I remind you, every once in a while, I will go out to Facebook and take a lookers.
And then I got to remember how to log into Facebook. That's actually my job. I don't know how to do it. Anyway, thank you, Blar Fangar.
Yes, thank you. Remember, readers, to have your comments shared, message us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You know what Kari said, but I'm going to check. Or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and a 5-star rating, okay? Nothing less. Talk to us if you want to go less. A 5-star rating on Spotify, okay? Okay, let's do it. All right. So you know what, readers? The books that we're reading this month touch on memory, I would say, in some form or fashion.
Yeah,
Kari, what are some of the books that we're reading this month?
I've put on there, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We haven't read anything by Maya Angelou. Surprisingly, I feel like those are books, her whole like autobiographical series are books you read in middle school or high school. And I want to revisit those as an adult and really get the meaning behind them. So of course, that's going to talk about memory as she's remembering parts of her life. I will say I put Death on the Nile on the list, and I'm not sure what that's about. It's another Poirot. By the problematic queen, Agatha Christie. And then you have on there, you've put on our March list 2 books that definitely deal with memory, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Still Alice by Lisa Genova, which has a movie adaptation I didn't know about.
Yes, yes. And I'm actually I haven't watched that movie yet, but I
Me
am
neither.
looking forward to watching that. And after reading Still Alice, I wanted to learn so much about Alzheimer's and how it develops, and then memories and kind of how that works in the brain, because that book was so intriguing to me. So Lisa has a TED Talk that I watched, and it talked about how Alzheimer's develops in the brain. And guess what? Lisa also happens to have a book called Remember that was released back in March of 2021.
Oh,
And so I
okay.
said, that's perfect. I could
Mhm.
talk about memories as it relates to the types of memories we have, and how a memory is formed, and even a little bit about Alzheimer's, as that people testing for that. So let's have a little fun with that today.
I'm really excited. What we're doing new this season is making the first episode of the month a wild card episode. So there's no book, but we're going to talk about topics that are covered in the books we love or the books we're about to read that we really want to learn about with all of you. So I'm really excited to learn about memories, how they affect us in real time. And Alzheimer's is something that concerns everyone, because even if you're not up in age, no doubt you have grandparents or parents, and you're always checking like, how come you don't remember that? Well, you
Yeah.
remember? That's one thing my mama hate when I say, remember? Don't you remember? I said it yesterday. You don't remember. That'll drive people crazy.
Well, I got something for you, because you do that to your mama, and I probably do that to my mother too. So I'm not going to, hold you down to that, because I'd probably do it too. But anyway, if you're a long-time listener, you may recall an episode where we covered the theme, how to improve your memory. And that was when we did Exhalation by Ted Chiang in season 1. Do you remember that, Kari?
No, I am already failing. I remember the book, but I don't remember us talking about how to improve your memory. I love that.
Yes, Kari, we did. You said you was going to work on them tips. I guess you weren't working on them. Is that right?
I say a lot on this show, and then I just go take a nap.
This episode is going to talk about memories again, how they're formed, the types of memories, and I'm going to include some examples from a film that I love, Disney's Pixar, Inside Out. Kari, for those that don't know, can you tell a little bit about Inside Out, what that story is about briefly?
Yes, this is one of your favorite movies. You made me watch it again yesterday, and it's a real cartoon. You know how sometimes they be like cartoons, but they not like cartoony. This is cartoony. But it talks about a girl's development up into a point when things change as far as her family is concerned. They move. So there's a new location, new friends to meet, old friends to try to keep up with. And she's feeling like, she's got all of these emotions inside of her. She's like 11. And she doesn't really know how to handle them. And it does a beautiful job at illustrating how our emotions develop, how complex they become with life's changes, and how it can feel like all of your emotions are active at once, and how frustrating it can be, or when you don't feel anything at all.
Yes, especially that we don't feel anything at all. So I look forward to hearing what you want to add as it relates, but I have some very specific examples as it relates to the book talks about the movie talks about core memories, and I think that's closely related to what's called episodic memory. So we'll get into that shortly. But before we dive into our understanding of memories, allow me to give you an assessment, Kari, and it's a mini mental screening that doctors use to identify red flags or to determine whether we're okay if we're concerned about some memory lapses we may have been having. All you need is a piece of paper and a pencil, and we'll get started. Can you get that?
Yes, and I encourage our listeners to do this along with me. If I gotta suffer, y'all gotta suffer too. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so here's the screening. I'm going to give you 3 words. Don't write them down. I'll let you know when you need the pen and paper.
Okay.
Ball, safety pin, driveway. Now, please repeat those words.
Ball, safety pin, driveway.
Okay, great. Now, the next thing I'd like you to do is draw an analog clock and point the hands to 2:15. You can make it as big or as little as you want, but it needs to be an analog clock, not a digital clock.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
I need more time, teacher. Okay,
Yeah.
2:15.
2:15.
Okay, got
And you're
it.
going to put it on the screen so we can see it, share that a
I
little
drew
bit.
it on the anthropology ad. Okay, let me just show.
Yeah, I got to be able to see it.
Okay, you want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, y'all, look.
2:15. Where's your numbers, Kari? Where's your numbers?
All clocks don't have. This is a Swiss, fine Swiss timepiece that I had drawn. Now it's the Timex.
That's the best you could do. Gone, girl, gone.
Oh,
And the way you wrote it, it looked
wrote it.
really wrong. So people are going to be concerned about you. Your mental health and well-being. Your ability to remember things. Yeah, that people are going to be concerned about that, Kari. Just so you know, okay? Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I promise I haven't been drinking. It's like 6:00 in the morning. My brain ain't started. Oh wait, that's the wrong one.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
it is. Okay. I know. If y'all listening to this on audio, I know you tired of us. Hang in there. It's going to get better.
Yeah, it will. Okay. Now, Kari, please repeat the 3 words I gave you originally.
Ball, safety pin, driveway.
Excellent. I'm going to say you passed. I mean, there was a little sketchiness with the
It's
drawing.
not an intelligence test. It's a memory test.
Yeah. So this detects, again, any memory lapses. It can identify them. And let me tell you how. So with the memory, we got the 3-word recall. I gave them initially and then took a little break, maybe 2 minutes later, and asked you to repeat them. Well, drawing the clock helps us to, helps them. I'm not a doctor, okay? Helps the doctors or those making the assessment to determine spatial reasoning, executive function. And both of those you need to plan this clock out in your mind, right? Then you need recognition so you can picture the clock. And then you have to put the hands in the correct place, which requires, again, executive function, motor skills, visual, spatial, reasoning skills, and then again, the memory. So you were able to do that, which gives you a little bit of success. But I got another assessment for you a little later. So keep your pen and paper there because we'll come back to it. Okay. So let's talk about how memories are created. There are 4 basic steps to creating memories. And the first step, Kari, do you happen to know anything about memories and how they're created?
No, I don't. I know, no.
Okay. All right, cool. So what I learned from Lisa's book on Remember is that it's 4 steps. And again, that's encoding, consolidation, storage, and retrieval. So encoding is really grasping your situation that you're in, gathering it all together and putting it in your brain. With me?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Consolidation is weaving that information together. So we've now grabbed information from what's going on around you, and now your brain is weaving it together. Then you have storage, and that's where the information is stored so you can retrieve it, which is the next step, retrieval. That's going in and gathering the information so you can then produce it in the form of the memory. All 4 of these steps are required. They must work in order to create a long-term memory. And so this all takes place in, I'm sure you're familiar with the word hippocampus, right?
No, I went to Marquette. I wasn't on the hippocampus.
No. So the hippocampus.
Why are you laughing?
The hippocampus is where memory is stored. Long-term memory is stored. And it links all that information together. In the movie Inside Out, they referred to long-term memories a lot, didn't they? You recall that piece of it?
Mm-hmm.
There was even a big storage area of long-term memories where some gets moved out because they're not in use. That actually happens in the brain.
I love that. Wow.
Isn't
It's
that
called a
cool?
hippocampus.
Yep,
Where
it's called Hippocampus.
The library where the long-term memories are stored.
Yeah, and we have two. There's one on each side of the brain, and again, both are needed. If that hippocampus is damaged, you can't create new memories.
Wow.
And so when
do you keep your old memories?
That's that long-term storage is sitting there. But if you can't create new memories, and I don't think the old ones stay very long either. Okay. There's a specific example in the book that talks about a person that had them both removed. So his long-term memory wasn't stored there. And this was a long time ago, very long time ago.
He had them removed, like surgically?
Surgically removed.
Oh.
This is back when that is considered, that's when that was considered okay, but today it's considered barbaric. So, yeah. We want to refrain from that kind of stuff.
That's so interesting because you're telling me this is a physical part of our brain, and I'm thinking it's more like a vibe. Like the hippocampus is like, that's where long-term memories get cocktails. They hang out, they talk to each other. But you're telling me this is an actual part of our brains that can be removed, which is a practice we no longer do. I'm loving this. Okay, thank you.
It's very interesting. And so guess what? You know how you go in queue and you're waiting to be handled or sent one way or another, maybe if you're calling somewhere? Well, our brain essentially has that same feature as it relates to memories. So when we first receive information, it hangs out in our prefrontal cortex as a working memory. As we decide what we want to do with that, our brain makes that decision based on a few things. And this working memory is how we stitch one moment to the next. And it helps us understand the books we read, the magazines, and the music we listen to. It vanishes quickly. And as I mentioned, it's in the prefrontal cortex. And that is a short-term memory holding spot.
Okay, this is like if you live in Chicago, you go to Restaurant Row and you tell Ashaval, it's 4 people with me. They ain't with you yet, but you got to say that. And they go, well, it's going to be a 5-hour wait. For real, Ashaval has told me it's going to be a 5-hour wait. So you hang out in the front knowing you ain't going to wait. You call all your friends. This is you developing books and stories throughout your life. And y'all all wait around together. And then you like, should we stay or should we leave? And you leaving. Just go down to Portillo's and stop wasting everybody's time.
Exactly. It's really just a holding spot.
It's a holding spot to either long-term memory or forgetting it altogether.
Exactly.
This is great.
Isn't that cool? I thought that was truly fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about the types of memories that we have. If you were to think of maybe a memory that you've heard of, like people's, I don't know how to say this. It's a very common expression. And I guess it's related to physical movement. Are you picking up where I'm going with this? Okay. I'll just give it to you. Muscle memory.
Oh, sure.
This is how we do things. Okay.
Right.
This memory allows you to do things like ride a bike, drive to work, play the piano, even walking about without thinking about it.
Get in a street fight.
Yup. That. Okay. All right.
You're like, oh, I forgot. I'm Bruce. Never mind. Go ahead.
Well, we can develop muscle memory through repetition and focused practice. Muscle memory, though, is not actually a muscle, right? It's formed in the brain. It's formed in a different area of the brain than the hippocampus, okay? This memory area is where you get your motor skills from. Muscle memories are really just unconscious, and it's below your awareness, essentially. Okay, so the steps to the movement need to be linked together in a single retrievable memory. And these memories are formed in the basal ganglia.
Amazon on everything.
And they're not in our hippocampus because that's long-term retrieval. And the hippocampus, as I mentioned, is long-term retrieval, but even though muscle memory is something you can recall, if you think about riding a bike, you may go months, years without riding a bike, but when you jump back on it, you can remember.
Yeah.
That's muscle memory, but
or
it's
walking.
not considered.
Just walking every day, that's part of muscle memory.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, but that's not considered long-term memory because it's a thing that we do.
Oh, yeah, we do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you was on to a point. Mm-hmm.
And so the cerebellum helps us to refine this. Again, another part of the brain. So it'll tell you how you make things better. So if say you got the Peloton. So you had to get on the Peloton and learn how to use the Peloton the right way, right? And so in order to get use your energy in the best way, you learn to keep your feet flat. You learn to sit up straight. You learn when to go into second position, things like that.
Or runners do things to use as little energy as possible to be more efficient in their running. And yeah, I can definitely see that.
And the cerebellum helps you refine that skill or that skill that you're learning to do. And then that memory sits in your motor cortex. Okay.
And it has to be a physical skill, something you're doing with your body, your actual muscles, and it helps you to do it better. Okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And so if you think about outliers, Malcolm Gladwell, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talked about that 10,000 hour rule.
Sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he did say, I think he said it in the book that number is just kind of pulled from it's just a number. It doesn't have to be exactly 10,000 hours, but it goes to the repetition that requires to mastering that skill.
Right.
And that is muscle memory. In the film, do you remember a segment where they talked about it? They kind of referred to muscle memory. Do you remember that?
With hockey?
Yes, with hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So in that specific example, in the movie, Riley has lost her core memories, and those core memories are tied to her personality. And one of her core memories was hockey. So fear, one of her emotions, was going to try and help her remember, right? Because the core memories were gone. He was like, well, she needs some help. Mm-hmm. So he was going to pull all the memories that he could think of about her playing hockey. And while Riley was able to play hockey, she wasn't successful. She wasn't as good as she had been in the past. And that was because he couldn't fit those memories in there. And that function was the muscle memory. Now, I'm going to talk about the place, the hippocampus, and the memories that it houses.
And the hippocampus is the library where the long-term memories are stored.
Yes, that's correct. So we're going to talk about the two memories that Lisa talks about in her book that are stored in the hippocampus. And the first one is semantic memory, and that is what we know. So if you think about things you know, maybe learned facts about your life, about the world, maybe your birth date. You weren't there when you were born, but you know the date you were told you were born.
Mm-hmm.
That's called semantic memory. It houses your personal data, and you can recall this information without remembering the details of how you learned it. Again, that example of birth. You learned that because you were told that. Mm-hmm. You weren't there.
Yeah, the first home you ever lived in, the address to that home, you'll know forever, your first phone number.
Yeah. Those are things, that's data, and it's disconnected from life experience. This information is timeless, and it's gained mostly through repetition. Stories that we are repeatedly told by others, they also fit this category.
Oh, so our address and our first number don't apply. They have to be something we weren't there to experience and we learned it because we were told it?
No.
Okay.
Stuff you learned because you were told is included in this, but
Okay.
you are also giving your phone number. That's not, and that phone number will still sit in this data-driven location. It's not one of the other memories that we'll talk about and that I think you'll appreciate a little differently. So that is semantic memory. It's considered what we know.
Okay.
The next memory, and this is my favorite one, is the episodic memory. What happened? This is personal. It always has to do with the past. These are memories that happened to you in life, remembered by you, and they're connected to a time and place. Kari, what do you think determines what experiences are remembered?
Oh, and what we choose to forget.
Oh, that's a song. And it's a lyric from a song, you know.
I really don't know. What determines an episodic memory?
Yeah.
It has to make an impression on us. So we have to change in that moment in some way, maybe, or be reaffirmed about something.
I love it.
Something about it has to really hit to the core of who we are. Yes,
exactly. So episodic memories need something that's not mundane, not routine, not the habitual events of our daily lives. As you said, they need to be meaningful, emotional, and they could include surprises as well. Life events that are infused with emotion are what we tend to remember long term. And the more emotional the event, the more vividly and elaborately we remember. Emotion and surprise actually activate a part of our brain called the amygdala, which then is stimulated and sends signals to the hippocampus and says, like, you know what, something's happening here and I want to keep it. It's very cool. This is, to me, what Inside Out is calling core memories, because they're developed her personality. Do you remember that, Kari?
Yeah, of course. Whether it be like when she was celebrating at the end of a game, she actually lost with her friends and her parents, or when her dad and her were playing around the house. Those are like all part of her core memories, and they made up who she became, who she was growing into.
Right. And that's actually connected to another very specific memory called autobiographical memories. And I'll jump back to that in a second. Each core memory, as Kari stated, formed a different aspect of Riley's personality. So next, within episodic memories is flashbulb memories. Episodic in that they're shocking and they evoke big emotions, whether happy or sad. These are flashbulb memories. They contain a lot of vivid detail. For example, they might include where you were, the date, and what you were wearing and who you were with. They can be very personal, but they can also be very public. If it's a public event, maybe say 9/11, you had to have a great deal of personal connection for that to be a flashbulb memory. Okay.
Yeah, that reminds me. I thought about 9/11 or the day that Princess Di died.
Yes.
Or when Aaliyah died or Left Eye died.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when you think about those moments, what do you feel connected about that?
I just remember, like, for example, when Princess Diana died, we had gotten our first computer as a family that day.
Okay.
And it was such a happy day. And I remember just being so sad that she died, even though I didn't even know her.
Yeah.
It was just really, really sad. And then going to 9/11, I remember being at your mom's house and everything that happened that day and the confusion and all that.
Yeah, that's a flashbulb memory. So let's jump back to that autobiographical memory I was talking about. This is the highlights reel, and it makes me think about, in movies where people had their life flash before their very eyes, if they're going to die or something. This is what autobiographical memory means to me. That's how I see it. We tend to save these memories that feed our identity and our outlook. The things that make us laugh, the things that make us smart. We will remember the times that we displayed the intelligence, but we won't remember the times when we didn't.
I feel like I remember the times I didn't and replay those more often. Like, dang, I'm dumb for real.
Oh, excuse me. I think this is included, again, when they talk about the core memories. That's what I think are tied to that. That's that episodic memory that forms her core, her personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So episodic, but the autobiographical form of that.
Okay.
All right. So here's a good one. Regarding autobiographical memories, we remember almost nothing before the age of 3 and then very little below the age of 6. Kari, what's your oldest memory?
I was 5, first day of school, and I got a popsicle when I came home. And I was like, I guess I'll go to school now because you get popsicles when you go. And everybody was sitting on the porch waiting for me to come home. It was a very country moment, even though we wasn't living in the country. It was great.
Were you on a bus? Did you walk? How
I was on a school bus, and then when I got home, everyone saw like my whole family and friends of the family sitting on the porch. And then the ice cream truck came, and I actually got some, which I never was treated to anything from the ice cream truck. Obviously, I'm still bitter about that. Obviously. Even though the ice cream truck was filthy, I just felt like I deserved a popsicle that day, and I got one.
I'm so glad you were able to receive that popsicle. I really am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, people have asked me, actually, I asked a few friends the other day about their oldest memory, and it was really touching to hear their young stories. One person remembered as young as 4 years old. And so they turned around, of course, and they asked me, and I was like, I don't.
You always say you don't have memories.
Yes, I always say that. But as I sat there and spit out those words, the memories came back to me.
So what's your oldest memory?
I remember being in kindergarten and having a boyfriend named Billy.
Dang, he was fast. Fast little kid.
I remember being in first grade and having to go to the coat room because of a tornado.
Oh.
I remember being in a school bus accident on the highway. And that, I believe, was in 3rd grade. And I say 3rd grade because the next year I went to a school closer to what happened. So those were my memories. So, but Kari, why do you think we remember so little below the age of 3?
I'm not sure it's useful for us. So our brain can only fit so much. And so maybe it's like, you already know how to walk and chew your food. I'm throwing this away.
Oh, okay. I thought you were actually getting up to throw something.
No, that's our brain holding our memory like, you don't need this.
You don't need this. Okay. Well, here's what Lisa's book says. It says that memories are connected to the development of language in our brains, and that corresponds with our ability to encode, consolidate, store, and retrieve episodic memories. We need language to tell what happened and to organize the details of our experiences so that we can revisit them and share them later. So as adults, we only access memories that happen when we had our own language skills to describe them.
That's insane. So should we not teach kids 2 languages at a time?
No, because they are holding on to that, right?
Yeah, they are, right? Okay. I love that. That is so cool. Mm-hmm. So you need to explain it to yourself before you can remember it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's insane. Wow.
Isn't that
What
cool?
if you've never heard anyone speak languages and so you've never learned a language? Let's say you were born deaf. How do you form those memories?
So I thought about that. That's immediately what I thought of. But she doesn't address that. So I had to think about it myself. And Helen Keller knew how to communicate, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she did have a language, and it says a language. It did not necessarily say words. It has a language, and she has a language in which she can communicate her experiences with others. Those other functions, her hippocampus is still working. She has both of them. And the prefrontal cortex, her working memory, is still working. So she can still receive that data and store it in those special places.
Wow.
That's my take on it. That's my take on it. So, here's another question. Well, let me let you know this. Between the ages of 15 and 30, we're said to experience the most episodic memories, or the most episodic memories. So that's when they are developed. They call it the reminiscence spot, a time when we fill our lives with meaning. Kari, how many episodic memories do you think we have a year?
A year? Ooh, 2,000.
Ooh, that's a lot. That's high. Most people remember 8 to 10. So we could have 10,000, but most people only remember 8 to 10. If you thought back to your previous year, previous 12 months, can you identify
during
8
COVID?
memories?
No, every day was the same.
Yeah, and our brain does not connect with things that are mundane, routine. It doesn't.
That's
it
why
doesn't
no one
keep
can
that.
believe it's 2022, because 2020 like never happened. Yeah, you're right. Wow.
Yeah. It does. Our brain doesn't want to hold on to that. It holds on to the things that are special to us. There are people, however, that can remember every single day. They can remember the routine. They can remember the mundane. And these people are called highly superior they have a highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM.
They're also narcissists. They like, everything I'm doing is so important. I got to document this either internally or externally.
And
I ate bread today.
And they can recall that from childhood. One person, there's an actress, and she's you remember the movie Taxi? Maybe you weren't there when it came out, but you ever heard of the TV show Taxi?
Mm-mm.
What's his name? He played the Penguin in a Batman movie.
Yeah, Danny DeVito.
He is in that TV show.
Okay.
Also,
that
this
help,
woman that has the HSAM memory, she was in that movie and
TV show.
Yeah, on that TV show. I'm sorry. So, but our memories can be jogged. We can be helped to remember something. It's just like we just did. I gave you, remember this, that, and the other, and you were able to come up and you jogged jogged my memory. Okay, a little help. We need a little help, as our poet at the beginning said. So let's talk about memory recall. Our memories aren't accurate, and they become less accurate with each recall and each consolidation. Do you believe that?
True. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love the part in Inside Out when they're on the train and two of the carts fall over and one cart says facts and the other says opinions. And she's like, they look the same. He's like, just put them in either bin. It don't matter.
But also in that same segment of the movie, Joy and Sadness and Jangles are on this train of thought to headquarters when Django sees a memory that shows how big Riley had gotten. Remember, and you mentioned it a little earlier. Joy sees the memory and recalls that it was the time that Riley was in the Twisty Tree when the hockey team showed up. Right? Mom and Dad were cheering. Everybody was cheering. They were fun. They were laughing. It was a great time. But Sadness recalled that memory And she said the reason they were in the twisty tree was because Riley's hockey team lost the playoff game because Riley missed the winning shot. Riley felt awful and wanted to quit. And so we can replay back memories and and talk about what was important to us, even though that's not actually what happened. So there's our memory playing a little trick on us. And maybe we're having a conversation with someone and they were there at the time of this episodic event.
Yeah.
And they remember something different. And you're like, I don't remember that. But if, say, you and I are at the same event, I'm going to pay attention to things that you're not going to pay attention to.
Right.
We're not paying attention to the same things. So my memory is recording things that your memory isn't. So we're going to have different stories, the different pieces of that.
Both truthful, but both different.
Yeah. And then the longer we retell these memories, sometimes we add stuff. And you think like they lying. But no, our memory has inserted some things over time. And we believe those things to be true.
I got friends like that. They retell stories in such a fantastical way. I know they don't know they're lying, but everyone else knows this can't be what really happened the way you describing it. I don't know.
Well, why don't we take a quick break? Because we've talked about all the types of memories that I'm going to share. And then we'll come back and talk about a few other things that come up when we talk about memories.
Are we going to play another game?
Yes.
Yay! Okay, let's take a break.
Okay. And now for a special announcement.
Reintroducing Lightities, a private collection of luxury soy candles inspired by literature. For over a year, I've been working with our friends and finicky family members to get these aroma recipes just right. Now, I'm proud to share 3 exclusive fragrances. The first, Flora Neil Hurston, containing notes of blossoming red roses, warm woods, and slight musk. The second, Maya Tangelo, an expert mix of Tangelo citrus, warm woods, and notes of mint tea. And Langston's Library, a masculine mix of leather and balsam. Thank you to Alexis for helping me pick these cheesy names, which I love.
I love them.
And they perfectly describe the aroma, so thank you so much. For more information, readers, and to access a secret sale April 1st, I'm only telling you guys, and to receive special pricing. That's right, I'm giving you guys a discount. Text Lightities 10 to 844-521-0935. Again, that's Lightities 10, L-I-T as in Tom, O, T as in Tom, E, S as in Sam, 10, the number 1, the number 0, to 844-521-0935. Lightities 10 to 844-521-0935. Lightities, not your ordinary fragrances.
Now, ready to play another game, Kari?
Yes, the most.
All right. So this is a little question and answer game. So I need you to write these down. I got these questions from Lisa's book. And then we'll come back to them shortly. So you're going to write down the answer to these questions, okay?
Okay.
First question. What is the capital of Spain? Don't tell me. Just write it down. There are 10 questions. And you don't have to share this on the screen. You can just write them down.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Who is the lead singer in the band Queen? I have some of these questions, not all of these questions from her book.
Uh-huh.
Good grief. Third question. How close is the Earth to the sun?
Okay. Got it.
Fourth question. Who wrote Secret Window, Secret Garden?
What? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Ooh. Ooh. I only know his first name.
Okay. In what city is the Colosseum?
Okay, got it.
Question 6. What planet is second closest to the sun?
Okay, got it.
Who wrote the Black National Anthem?
Okay, got it.
What was your first grade teacher's name? Who played Sinclair James Jones on the TV show Living Single?
Okay, got it.
And our final question, who painted The Starry Night?
Okay, got it.
All right, so set that aside, and I'm going to just share with you a couple things that come up when we talk about memory.
Okay.
So when I told you I talked to some friends and asked about their memories. Oh, it's just a memory that's so touching. Anyway, one of them said, but what about deja vu? Are you familiar with deja vu?
Of course.
Yeah. When I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I know deja vu, but she doesn't talk about it in the book.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. Deja vu is when you have that feeling that you've done something before or you lived through a situation before. Maybe you heard something before. Mainstream science identifies it as a neurological anomaly related to epileptic electrical discharge in the brain. And migraines can also be associated with deja vu. They say there are 2 types of deja vu. That's pathological deja vu, which is associated with epilepsy or hallucinations, and they may be an indicator of a neurological or psychiatric illness. I think that psychiatric illness part is quite debatable. Non-pathological deja vu by perceived healthy people, they say people who travel often or frequently watch films are more likely to experience deja vu than others. So when I think about this, like as a youth, I didn't fit into any of those categories. I mean, I could have a mental illness. I could. But I didn't have one identified. So I don't see myself. And I experienced these quite a bit in my youth. As I've gotten older, I haven't experienced them. I can't even recall the last time I experienced them. So that was interesting to me. But they did say, and this is where I feel like I came in, people tend to experience deja vu if they're in a fragile condition or they're under high pressure. And research shows that the experience of deja vu decreases with age. So there's, I feel like, is where I fit in. And it does. I gotta say, I cannot remember the last time I had an experience of deja vu. How about you? Can you remember?
No, but I too used to like experience it pretty often. I remember being on a bus with you in Italy, and I woke up and I felt like I was in Wisconsin. And it looked like Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
And it felt like everything we were doing, I had already done it in Wisconsin.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really random, but yeah. But no, I can't remember the last time I experienced deja vu.
Okay. Another thing people talk about when it relates to memory is mind pop. Does that sound familiar to you?
No, I've never heard of that.
I think that it may be a more European word for it. When I looked it up, I came to a European site. That's why I say that. That's when a memory comes out of nowhere. Surely you've had that experience, right?
Sure, yeah. And you're like, what? Why am I even thinking about that? Like the commercial and the jingle that is always popping in her mind and Inside Out.
And the people that were helping clean up the memories, they was like, yeah, we just love to throw this one, just pop it out of nowhere. I thought that was really cute. But psychologists have observed that people that do experience these involuntary memories, they do so about once a day and most likely during routine or habitual activities. They're more likely to come when our attention is not focused.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that. Mm-hmm.
And it's also noticed that they don't come from nowhere. A lot of times they don't come from nowhere. If the person mentioned it to someone around them, so say you had that, it's just something, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I might say, oh, it was just on the TV a few minutes ago. And you were like, I don't remember that. I didn't see that. But you could have been in another room. So that just really goes to show that our brains are always recording, and it's recording more information than we know.
Wow, that really makes me think too, what am I allowing to exist in my atmosphere? Because my brain's taking it in whether I realize it or not.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mind pops can occur in weeks, months after the person has been exposed to the word, song, or whatever it is, because your subconscious is picking that up, even though you didn't hear it. Another thing that people talk about, and it's covered in Lisa's book, is the tip of the tongue. And you were so kind enough to say, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, as you were writing down your responses. So that was actually perfect.
So those are things you know, but you can't pull it from where you know it should exist.
Yes, exactly. And that's okay. That truly is okay. You know the answer. You can't. It's on the tip of your tongue. You can see maybe the person's face. You can't recall their name. You can describe what they're wearing. You know so much, but you cannot say the words. With that in mind, why don't we get the responses to your questions?
Here we go. I'm ready.
All right. The first question was, let's get back to that. What is the capital of Spain?
Madrid.
Correct. Who is the lead singer in the band Queen?
Freddie Mercury.
How close is the Earth to the sun?
A couple miles.
The answer is 91.4. And so the key is not that you knew all the answers to that. I knew there were some that you would not be able to answer, and there would be some
your faith
that you would be able to answer right off the top. And I just wanted to find at least one that you would have that moment where you said tip of the tongue. So that was perfect. But we'll keep going for the answers. And not because I felt like you would know the majority of these. It's just some pieces I didn't think maybe you mastered or retained that information. That's more what it is.
This is how your friends tell you stupid. I thought you would know the lead singer of Queen, but you know, science and stuff. I knew you wasn't gonna know that, baby. Thank you. You're right.
So it's actually 91.4. And you know me, if you would have tested.
Hey, brain, don't even hold on to that information. We'll never need it.
91.4 million miles away from the sun. So
good for the sun. Stay away from us. We trash.
And you know, if you were testing me likewise, I would not have gotten any of these answers. They would have all been on the tip of my tongue, you know, and experience shows and the readers, no, they just know. So I'm glad you're being tested and not me. Who wrote Secret Window, Secret Garden?
Stephen. And his last name is on the tip of a tongue.
King.
Stephen King.
Yeah, I'm glad this is the one because that's the one I was hoping it would be because the name is, for me, is a little different, but I'm glad that worked out. Okay, anyway. In what city is the Colosseum?
Rome.
And what planet is second closest to the sun?
Mars.
Venus. Who wrote the
They're all the same. Huh?
They're not. Who wrote the Black National Anthem?
I have here, Yo Mama. I know it. Lift every voice and sing. I know it. But I don't know who wrote that. I have here, Yo Mama.
Well, that's not true.
Momma.
James Wyndham Johnson.
Thank you, JJ.
And what was your first grade teacher's name?
I don't know. I think it's Mrs. Merrick, but I don't really know.
Yeah, it's okay. And then who played Sinclair James Jones on the TV show Living Single?
I wrote here one of the Kimberlys.
That is true. That is true. Kim Coles. Yep.
Kim Cole. I know.
Yes, yes. And who painted The Starry Night?
Van Gogh.
That's right. Vincent Van Gogh.
Hey, Cassius dance. Cassius dance. Oh, come on. Don't hate you. Hey. Okay.
Okay. All right. That's all I got.
That was fun. What do I get?
Yeah. So you don't get anything. It's really just an opportunity to test the tip of the tongue. That's what it was. And it worked out.
Yeah, that's Stephen
really
King.
cool.
I knew, but I didn't know. But I knew.
So just so you know, tip of the tongue does not mean you have Alzheimer's or on your way to it, but they do
that's a relief.
Increase with age. So the older you get, you're more likely to have more of them, but it doesn't mean you have Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is very specific. You can't find your keys. Maybe you find them in the refrigerator, but when you get to your keys, you don't know what they're for. So that's very specific to Alzheimer's. A lot of the memory lapses that we have are just part of our brain process. One of the things that help us to actually, let's just go into that. I want to talk finally about tips for capturing more episodic memories. Okay.
Oh, I love this. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then a few reminders for improving your memory. So get out of your routine. So as I mentioned, the brain does not care about routine, habitual stuff. You brush your teeth every day. So unless you brush your teeth and some animal comes out of your mouth, you're not going to remember that. It's a routine thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat the same thing for breakfast every day, your brain's not going to remember that. It doesn't care. It's not worth holding on to. So another suggestion, look up. Disconnect from devices. They say they serve as a distraction from really holding on to memories. Feel it. Another tip, feel it. Be emotional about things, or not emotional in a bad sense, but just feel your experiences, and that will allow your brain to say, yep, that's something we want to keep and hold on to. Rehash it. Reflect on your experiences, and that will help your recall. And a favorite of ours that we come back to, guess what? Journaling. If you write down, you're more likely to remember it. So keep a journal. And here's a tip, even though we said disconnect from devices, but social media is a good source for cataloging your memories. It serves as a, or you could use a photo album if you're not on social media. You can just grab that, go back and look at that information, and you can see what happened, or videos, that kind of thing.
One thing I've heard too as a tip is to keep a happy box. So fill like a shoebox with things that make you happy, cards that you've received from people who love you, printed photos of you spending time with people who love you, things like that. And then when you forget or you're having a down day, you can always go back to that literal happy box and cheer yourself up.
I like that. That's pretty cool. Another thing, life vlogs. Now, does that sound familiar to you, Kari?
Life vlog, like on YouTube?
Yeah, like a vlog.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what this immediately made me think of? Exhalation. The actual story that you talked about. Remember, that book was about a bunch of short stories, but there was one specific story that you kind of followed the tail on, and that was
the father
one,
and the daughter.
Yes. So that made me think of that book. In that book, I think it was called Riemann. There was this thing that recorded those memories, and you can go and get those memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thing you could do, life logs. And then the most simplest thing that we can do to preserve our memories for purposes of Alzheimer's, as well as for just keeping them, or saving some long-term episodic memories is getting enough sleep. That is like the biggest contributing factor. They say 7 to 9 hours is needed for our brain to go through a process of cleaning out things within our synapses that contribute to Alzheimer's. And it's a buildup of that, a buildup of, I think it's called amyloid beta. And so when this amyloid beta builds up in our synapses, then it's because we're not getting enough sleep. It's not enough of that. It's being cleaned out every night. So if we get a lot or enough sleep that our body can clean out, or our brains can clean out enough of that, we're at a better risk of not getting Alzheimer's disease. So sleep is important in a lot of things that we do. So that's it, folks. That is memories. Kari, do you have any specific questions or about anything you learned?
You did an amazing job producing this show. This is the most edifying episode of Lit Society I've ever been a part of. I'm going to go back and listen to this. I'm going to listen to your tips, and just hearing how our mind works. It's so cool. What an amazing design our brain alone really is. I love it. You're awesome. This was great. I was on the edge of my seat. For real. I feel like I should have took notes, but I'm going to go back and listen to this episode. So thank you.
That's okay. And you can also read the book. It's called Memory. By Lisa Genova. And of course, we're covering her book next week. So we'll talk more about her background when we go into that. And then the book that we're covering, Still Alice. And hopefully everybody be prepared to talk about that.
Yes, I can't wait. So what are we reading next week, Alexis?
Still Alice.
Right on the heels of the wild card episode. I love it. It'll be fresh in the brain. So that does it for us this week. Thank you for listening to Lit Society. We look forward to meeting up with you next week, Thursday. Lit Society is brought to you by Alexis Honoria and Kari Herrera. Support the cause by leaving a 5-star, that's 10 stars, but 5-star review for our show on Apple Podcast, along with a comment about why you absolutely love us. And don't forget, you can still leave a 5-star review on Spotify. If you've enjoyed what you just heard, tell a friend about Lit Society. Visit litsocietypod.com for show notes, this month's book list, and to sign up for our amazing email newsletter. And until next time, readers, read something.